Welcome back, people. Welcome to my sports world once again. The previous video was about my beloved 49ers. This time we are talking about the Manchester United. The previous couple of days we've been looking at formations on how to play with both Ronaldo and Cavani in the team. Because I think that will be something that will overwhelm 75% of the teams in Premier League. So let's look at it. The other day we had a diamond that was based off of a 4-4-2, and then yesterday we did a 4-3-3. Today we're doing the traditional old school 4-4-2. That was a formation that not many teams use anymore for some weird reason. I grew up in the 70s, 80s, and was indoctrinated with the 4-4-2 system and formation, and it was widely used by most teams and most national teams. You had a few here and there that did 4-3-3 and 4-5-1, but I remember the Norwegian national team often used 4-4-2 and 4-5-1, depending on the if they played home or away or which team they played against. And this was like late 80s and through the 90s. In the 70s and the 80s, a lot of teams where I grew up, which is Norway, used 4-4-2, and the team that I played for and was associated with often played a 4-4-2, and we had huge success with that, and that was Lillestrøm. We are the cup winners, the series winners, the league winners, and we've been to Europe many times too, beating teams like Ajax and stuff like that. So yeah, 4-4-2 is a good tool if you have good players and you have players that can use the system in a good way. So let's look at it. Can Manchester United, as a team, with the players we have right now, can they benefit from running a 4-4-2 formation? I don't need to draw up a 4-4-2. Most people know a 4-4-2. So let's start. We start with David De Gea in goal again in a 4-4-2. The back four is the same. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Raphael Varane, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw. So that is given. That stands as in the other ones. However, on the middle, a 4-4-2 can, as I said in the other ones, can be slightly progressive and slightly utilized in slightly different ways. It doesn't have to be a straight line back. The back four is normally straight line, or they have a little curve. The middle can be a little bit, not on a line. It can be off axis. It can be a little bit different positions, but it's still considered a 4-4-2. You can have one in the hole. You can have, one recessed down a little bit deeper. Many things can go in there, but you get the gist of it. The general 4-4-2. So the players, I don't now going to talk about them being in the hole or a little bit deeper or a little bit off the axis to the left or something like that. This is just which people and which players in which positions, okay? So on the middle, let's start on the left-hand side. We put Pogba. So we have on the back four, Bissaka, Varane, Maguire, and Shaw. In front of Shaw, we put Pogba, and then in from Pogba, you have Bruno Fernandes. And like I said, Bruno Fernandes can be a little bit off axis and a little bit more in the hole between the mid four and the strikers. So depending on that, it's not like he's going to be a very, very defensive player, or defensive minded. But you have Pogba and Bruno Fernandes there, and of course, this can rotate and they can shift and they can, it's not static. And then beside Bruno, you could either use players like McTominay or Matic or Donny van de Beek. So that is one spot where you can rotate players. I would probably use Donny van de Beek, just because he's younger, faster, more stamina than both, and than Matic, and I think he's better than McTominay. I think he's stronger with the ball in his feet than McTominay. I think he has a better passing capability. I think he's more accurate. He's both McTominay and Donny van de Beek is very offensive-minded people, so they're kind of like considered box-to-box players. But I think that either McTominay or Donny van de Beek beside Bruno in the middle, and then on the right hand side you have Jadon Sancho. So that's the front. No, that's the middle four, and on the front two you have again Cavani and Ronaldo. So this goes to show that we now have talked and looked into about three different formations: 4-3-3 and 4-4-2, and a modified 4-4-2 into a diamond, where both Cavani and Ronaldo are strikers. Where you can utilize these two goal scoring machines, because sometimes it is all about, it's not all, that's just not sometimes, it's always about outscoring your opponent. But sometimes you want to do it in a Southampton style of way, like we did last season where we beat them 9-0. You want some of those, like we did in the opening season game, 5-1 over Leeds. We want those bashings. We want those slaying games where we just steamroll over opponents just to make a statement. And there is more. This is not just limited to 4-4-2, 4-3-3, or a modified 4-4-2 into a diamond. I mean, there is so many ways. 3-5-2, for instance, can also be used in a way like that, but then you have to sacrifice a defensive player. Who is that going to be? Well, most likely that would be Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because you're going to play with Shaw, Varane, and Maguire in the back, and then to have Cavani and Ronaldo on top, and then you get a five on the middle. So then you're looking at some different. We can look at that another way and another day, but this episode was about the 4-4-2. And use of the old school formation, which is still highly usable and effective. A lot of teams that play 4-4-2 have a success with it, but 4-4-2, like anything else, I mean, even if you play the 4-3-3 or 4-5-1 or 3-5-2 or whatever, you have to have quality players. It doesn't. The formation in itself has nothing. It has no leverage. It means absolutely nothing unless you have the right type of players with the right type of skills. So you can play any formation you want. If your team sucks, you're gonna suck anyway. It doesn't matter if you play 4-4-2 or 3-5-2 or 4-5-1 or 4-3-3 or diamond or whatever. The better your team is, the more chances you have to win, regardless of formation. But this is just to show you guys that it doesn't have to be either or. We don't have to choose between, am I going to play Cavani or Ronaldo in this game? Do I play Ronaldo or Cavani in this game? In the next game, who do I play? Doesn't matter. You can pick formations and setups that can give you the benefits of having both strikers on the field at the same time. I mean, and as like I said in the other ones, if you need to do substitutions, what do you have on the bench? You don't have to abandon your formation because, okay, let's say you take Cavani off and you put in Greenwood. Let's say you take Ronaldo off, you leave Cavani in, you still put in Greenwood. If Greenwood is not available, who else can you put in? Well, you can put in Lingard, you can put in Rashford. So there's many options. So you don't have to like go gung-ho and changing formations and everything just because you're playing two players in the same system. And if you may have to make changes, well, you can just do direct changes. If you need to do changes to become more, let's say it's very situational, and you let's say you're down 1-0 and there's 10 minutes to go. Yeah, and if you're playing let's say 4-5-1 and you want to change it to 4-3-3 or 4-4-2 or to have more people up on top, then of course you do it. But you never change the other way around unless you're leading 1-0 and there's 5 more minutes to go plus add-on, and you just want to save the possibly save the win. I've never been a fan of it, to like go lay deep just to save a 1-0 win. I'm in firm believer of defending yourself but also attacking. In my mind, attack and offense is the best defense. So if you but you don't, it's not all about not taking. If you're leading 1-0 and 5 minutes to go in a, let's say in a Champions League game final, you don't like 9 guys back and let the other team press you back. You take 5 guys back and you have 4 on the middle and 1 up on top. You don't go, it's all about situation you're in. But for the most part, in a regular Premier League game, you want to have enough pressure on top to make the other team think twice about going too strongly against you. So having 2 strikers on top of that caliber, I mean, if you had Mr. BBB Bayon Johnson or whatever, and Mr. Egu Baba Jibu on top, they probably wouldn't have the same respect in the other team as when you have Ronaldo and Cavani, who is supported by Pogba and Bruno right behind them. That's a scary situation, and again, it will make teams think twice about being too attacking against you. And now you have enough creative force in your team to do a duel. You have enough players with skill to break through. You should be. I understand that teams that go laying back with like 11 players or 10 players can be hard to break through, but when you play teams like the top 10 teams, they're not going to go and lay back and completely shut the door. But it is the bottom teams that are too afraid to lose that are going to do that. Teams like Norwich, Arsenal. I'm just kidding about Arsenal. Arsenal is a forward-going attacking team, and they pay dearly because they don't have enough good players on the defensive end of it. But there are teams, I mean, out there like Brighton and Burnley and Norwich, Crystal Palace. These are teams that when they play away, especially away, they lay back with like 8-9 players, and they try their best to just wreck the game, but 90% of the time you're going to find a way to get through and scoring goals. And this is why I like attacking and flowing football, because you don't get this bullshit of clogging up and just, I'm going to try and nick the game 1-0 or 0-0 is okay or whatever. Teams that do that should they should lose 10-0 more often, let me put it that way. But here you go again, and you see that with formations that we have talked about over the last 3 days, I don't think I have to do more of these, because there are 2 or 3 more. You can do a 3-5-2, and still have Cavani and Ronaldo on top. But once again, we have now looked in for the 3rd day in a row. We have looked into the 3rd typical possible formation, so we can have Cavani and Ronaldo on top, and still have Pogba and Bruno on the mid, and still have Sancho on there, and still have our super class, high class, top class, world class defense in. So I just hope that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer takes this opportunity and have Cavani and Ronaldo on the field at the same time and just go and attack. That's my hope. That's what I want to see. Until next time, guys, take care.